Hello, and welcome to Bossing Chiropody with Mr. F, taking down one toenail at a time. Haha, yeah, that's hilarious. No, clearly, as you can see, sundry tips to prepare for Hamlet OCR A level with 1 month-ish to go. So this is going to be a quick video for a change, and we're just going to look at things you could be doing between now and the exam with Hamlet. Obviously, you might still be on, I don't know when the holidays are in England at the minute, but or the UK. If you're still on holiday, use the time wisely. If not, evenings and weekends, these are things that you could be doing or during exam leave. All right, watch a film version of the play and make AO5 notes. So, yep, you can start with 1948, Laurence Olivier. It's free on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description below. And what's interesting about this, if you skip forward, even if that's the only thing you see, the Gertrude Hamlet scene in the closet, it's the first to take a very Freudian view of that scene with a lot of physical proximity between mother and son. So following that, you could go for Franco Zeffirelli's version from 1990 with Mel Gibson in the title role. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes long. That tells us that there have been some cuts made, and maybe that can be interesting to see from an AO5 point of view. What cuts have made, what have they kept in, thrown out, and of course how they've treated key scenes in there. For me, Kenneth Branagh's version from 1996 is an absolutely excellent revision resource, purely because it's the closest to the text. The downside of that is it's over 4 hours long. I think it's about 4 hours, 30 minutes long. But by watching that over a couple of evenings or weekends, if you're no longer on Easter holidays, what you get from that is a good overview of Act 1 through to Act 5. So the key arcs. This is a tragedy, so we have character arcs that are important to see. Hamlet's maturation or evolution from naive prince at the start to would have proved most royal at the end. Fortinbras's observation. We get to see that change happening before our eyes, and that can be quite useful for visual learners. So definitely recommend that. And of course, when we're watching it, we can refresh our memories about key quotes, key scenes. You can make notes, but certainly make notes about the directorial choices made for this adaptation in terms of the post-wedding scene, very famous, Hamlet all in black, the bride in white. So there's that contrast between the mother in white, the stepfather in red, and Hamlet in black. The confetti, the use of mirrors. There's lots of interesting things. Next, 2009, Gregory Duran's version with David Tennant, also starring Patrick Stewart. This brings things up to date in a more modern setting. So whereas 1996 Hamlet is more classic, we have the castle setting, use of armor for the ghost. Duran's version uses CCTV, has a gun in lieu of a sword at key moments, and Tennant's own performance is quite unique, shall we say, if I'm being kind to David Tennant. And finally, for me, a useful one. She's not the first woman to play Hamlet, but she's the most recent one, and it is available on Amazon Prime, for instance, or you can buy the DVD. Maxine Peake's 2015 version, which is a filmed stage adaptation, and that can be really interesting from the usual points of view of how is the ghost treated, what does this slightly androgynous female bring to the role, does it bring anything? What is the purpose there? Is it a more feminist slant being given to it? So I definitely think that's worth a look because of the intrigue and interest created by having a female actor in the role. All right, moving on. Do random unseen extracts. Section A is going to be an extract, so why not practice that skill? And they're usually about 65 lines long. That's maximum. So you could go through the play and pick a scene that you think could come up, that hasn't come up, and just kind of work through it. And what would you say about it from a language, structure, form point of view? And of course, don't forget, Here it's all about the dramatic effect of that language, structure and form. So what are the key things happening dramatically in that scene through the use of metaphor or register or simile, imagery, line lengths, whatever it might be. These scenes in the past have often been with two or more characters. There hasn't really been one with a soliloquy, but it could be the year that a soliloquy comes up, so we need to be ready for that. Often, I would recommend thinking about hierarchy. So we often have people of low status and high status in the same scene. This is from exam papers past. And there we need to be thinking about register. Is someone speaking in a casual register or a formal register, and why are they doing that? Maybe because of where they fit into the hierarchy at Elsinore. Also the use of blank verse and prose. Sometimes there's a very specific reason why characters are speaking in blank verse or prose to do with their status, but also maybe conscious choices made by characters as a kind of form of rebellion. We sometimes see Hamlet doing that. So it could be a soliloquy this year. Be prepared. If you did get a soliloquy, they're never static things, although it's one person speaking. It's an interior monologue being made audible. So the Hamlet's inner conflict is being made audible to the audience. And with Hamlet, as reflective of his character, there is a lot of change of pace, change of topic, emotive outbursts, use of apostrophe. Think about how things start, develop, and change by the end. So the soliloquy is often a moment of deep dramatic characterization where we get to see the real Hamlet. And we're privileged as an audience to see that. In terms of unseen extracts, Mr. F's prophecy, will 2023 be the year of the ghost? The ghost has never appeared in a scene thus far. Could this be the year that he appears either from Act 1 or from when he comes back later in the play? Right. Read candidate style answers on the OCR website. So I'm sure you're familiar with this, and I'm only telling you this because you're at the end of your 2-year A-level course. But there are exam papers available, and with those exam papers from 2017, 2018, 2019, you can read some sample answers from candidates across the country, and there's usually a range of answers giving you ones that got level 6 in the mark scheme down to level 5, level 4, and you can compare and contrast those. One of the problems with this is that they're often written in scrawly exam handwriting, which we all write in when we're under pressure. It's quite revealing to see that even with terrible scrawl, you can still achieve a 26 or a 28, maybe reassuring even, but it can make it difficult to read. But I still think that's really useful. At the end of those answers, you'll get feedback from an examiner explaining why the mark of 26 level 6 was allotted, or 25 just below a level 6 was allotted. And so I think that's really useful. You can also look at examiner reports, which gives it's really for teachers, but it will give you an insight into general trends about certain questions or certain topics and things to avoid. So that's really useful. Now, critical comment AO5. So for section B, there are different ways to approach this. There's the bronze medal way to approach this, which is kind of looking at someone else's Quizlet on AO5 and trying to pinch their ideas. I've put meh by that. The reason being, I'm all for Quizlet if it's made by yourself and you've kind of got a rationale behind it and using it as a revision resource that you've created. But just going there to steal some AO5 comments that someone else has dug up, although it's time saving, I don't think if you're pushing for top marks, that's what you should be doing. Silver medal would be going to the British Library and reading their range of Hamlet articles where it gives you a named critic and a date. So they're all really up to date. They're mostly from 2015, 2016. And that's where maybe that's a bit limited because it gives you like modern thinking, modern critical thinking on this, but not the kind of timeline overview or the chronological overview that would be really useful for those top marks. Now, the reason I say that is because the gold medal standard is go to Wikipedia's critical appreciation of Hamlet page, which is here. And there it will take you through the Renaissance period, Restoration, early 18th century, Romantic criticism, late 19th, early 20th century, famous critics such as A.C. Bradley, Sigmund Freud. T.S. Eliot, so mid to late 20th century and even up to the 21st century. So we'll start to get into maybe some feminist ideas on psychoanalytic ideas. And as you can see, there's an awful lot to get stuck into. There we are. We have sections on feminist, psychoanalytic, Gothic, heroic, meta-interpretational. All right, that seems like a lot, doesn't it? And you'd want to go through there and pull out some key ideas. Obviously, read it, take little chunks from it that you can use and maybe kind of condense that down into a mini timeline and maybe one or two key names or quotes from each different key movement. So like romantic, feminist, psychoanalytic. Why am I saying that? Because AO5, top level, 6, judgment consistently informed by changing critical views of the text over time. And I think this is something that students forget. They think they can just throw in a critical comment, and of course they can, and they will get credit for that. But if you want to be level 5, level 6, add nuance, and it's a good skill for later life if you do a humanities subject at university, being able to say, well, an early Freudian view was this, however, a later psychoanalytic view or a later feminist view, and just show some nuance that critical ideas about Hamlet have changed over time and changed radically as well. So it could be useful to go from, say, Samuel Taylor Coleridge through to A.C. Bradley or Freud, and then up to someone more recent like Stephen Greenblatt. Another really good source of modern critical comments would be the In Our Time podcast, which did a program on Hamlet with 3 academics from different universities giving the latest thoughts, and that's fairly recent. It's a couple of years old, and you can find that In Our Time Hamlet. Google that, and you will come across it. So there we are. If you did all of that, you'd go from gloomy Hamlet to pretty happy Hamlet with your revision, and that's going to be a good way to spend the time between now and the exam getting ready for Hamlet and refreshing your mind about key components. All right, you know what to do. Likey like, subby sub, and I may be back. I feel like doing another section A because I think there are things I'd like to say about register, because it seems to be frequently referred to in candidate answers of the past, and maybe something that OCR like, and certainly is something that appears in the extracts they've used previously when we have this, hierarchy where different people in the Elsinore hierarchy talking to each other. So it's definitely something you can refer to. So register, and there were a few other things like, blank verse versus prose. We can look at maybe an example of that in an extract, and I might do a kind of a live go through of an extract as well. All right, there we are. Keep it real, spread the love, and I will see you for more felicity